What if surviving your high conflict divorce isn't about fighting harder in court, but finally learning the playbook your ex doesn't want you to have and becoming your biggest advocate in the process? In this episode, we expose the psychological warfare, gaslighting, and power moves happening behind the legal chaos and show you exactly how to respond. Because no one is coming to speak for you the way that you can. If you are stuck in panic, this conversation is your step-to-step back to your power. Welcome back. Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Becky Sampson, your host of the Divorcing Strong podcast. And yes, we've got another episode. It's been kind of a slow week, actually, because this is my only one for this week after such a crazy week last week. I just want to welcome you back to another episode. I am really taking this podcast to another level when we are talking a lot about high conflict. Now, why would we do that? Because there's a lot out there about collaborative divorce, which I will still interview those type. And I've had it on both sides. I've had a divorce that was not a lot of conflict. And another one that was very, very high conflict. So if you are dealing with that, or if you have a family or a friend member, or family or friend, experiencing high conflict or a contested divorce, you really don't want to miss today, because I was on her podcast last week and we're like, oh my gosh, you and I have the same story. And it's really important that you get the right information. I swear, if you can educate yourself and learn what you need to learn to avoid mistakes, you will just do so much better in this process and in staying calm. And I've had some recent conversations lately that have really helped me understand, even on a deeper level, how important this work is and the information that you need to gain. So welcome to another episode of the Divorcing Strong. So today, on today's episode of Divorcing Strong, I'm joined by someone who knows high conflict divorce not as a concept, but as a battlefield she had to survive. Divorce coach and Thrive Again divorce coaching founder, Ksenia Muench, MBA, once looked like she had the dream life: a successful corporate career, a marriage, and 2 kids. And then the mask came off. Overnight, her world became court dates, psychological warfare, accusations she couldn't recognize, and the kind of anxiety that makes your chest feel like it's craving in. Even with a strong attorney, Ksenia realized something heartbreaking. No one was helping her think clearly, regulate her emotions, and make sane decisions in an insane situation. That painful gap is why she created Thrive Again Divorce Coaching, a no BS, deeply compassionate space where she walks women through 3 stages: getting clarity, learning to navigate high conflict tactics like gaslighting and child alienation, and ultimately discovering how to thrive after the dust settles. She now hosts the Uncoupling Unfiltered podcast, which I was a guest on last week, where she has the conversations most people are too scared to have about divorce, power, and healing. If you're in the middle of chaos or still healing from it, you're going to feel incredibly seen in this conversation. So stay tuned with us, and welcome to the show, Ksenia. How are you?
Thank you so much for such an amazing introduction. So happy to be here and share the story and just help other people see the bullshit that a lot of us go through without realizing what we're going through until it's too late.
I know. And there's a reason why my initials are BS. So I'm just telling you.
I mean, hey, if the shoe fits, right? you have to.
I know. It's always been a joke in my life. And so I know this is a heavy topic. And before we started this podcast, both you and I were talking about, being divorce coaches and advocates for people going through divorce, we have to regulate our own emotions because it's very easy to get tied into all of the trauma, and we have to be a good sounding board. I mean, I know attorneys have this kind of stress too, but I know for me, it's been a reality recently. It's just like, okay, what do I need to take care of myself in this moment? So I kind of, before we like dive into the real, deep stuff of dealing with people that are high conflict or contested divorces, tell us kind of more about your story of what brought you to this point, and then what made you decide to actually make a career of this and helping people through this process.
My story started probably like most women will share. I was married for almost 16 years. And then one day I realized that my children were experiencing and seeing things that they shouldn't. And since they were young sons, young future men, I had a responsibility to them to show that that was not okay. So when I left, I actually did it not for me. I did it for my kids. And a lot of times people think, oh, I'll stay in the marriage for the kids. No, I left for the kids. And I thought things were fine. I was on cloud nine. I finally moved out of the house. And I truly felt happy and relieved without realizing that when you live in an abusive relationship, shit gets worse. I am glad I didn't know that. But I can tell one thing, I was absolutely unprepared of what to come, what was next coming my way.
Yeah. So what do you think surprised you the most in that moment?
The cruelty, the deliberate intent to destroy the partner, to destroy a relationship with the kids, to punish you for leaving, and to basically destroy your relationships with friends and your name completely. Like they are trying to obliterate you, and they use the kids, friends, courts, family members, you name it. There is no stone that is unturned when it comes to high conflict. And when there is a party, the high conflict partner who is so triggered and upset knowing that there is no longer control over you, they will not stop at anything. And children become pawns. Money is not an object anymore, which is going to drain all the accounts. And it truly is a stupid fight. But I just say it's like playing chess with a pigeon. They just knock over the chess pieces and think they won. So it's you have to play smart game. You have to be very strategic when it comes to high conflict divorce.
Did you think ever during the divorce, even contemplating divorce, that it would end up this high conflict?
No, I was so hopeful that I will be one of those people when we are, even though separate households, we will be able to parent our children together. I even was thinking, and I actually did it. We separated in September 2020, and it was November. And I knew that my ex was feeling down. I said, listen, how about for the kids, we do Thanksgiving together? Because that in my head, what I was envisioning us going forward. He looked at me and he's like, I hate you so fucking much, and we're done. And I'm like, all right. That was the beginning of the warfare. And that's when I realized that everything that I envisioned is not going to happen. So I have to be much more prepared and aware of what to come.
And what did you do? What was your next step that you did? Did you go to an attorney? Did you try to do it on your own?
I did what most women do. And that was the biggest mistake. Now that, again, divorce is completed, dust is not fully settled. But I went to attorney first. I thought attorney is one and only resource I need. And that was stupid on my part. Now that, again, I am on the other side, I've walked that walk. I have seen how much money I invested into breaking free. And if I could, I would have done it completely differently.
So looking back now, and I know you do a podcast too, so you've heard a lot of stories, had a lot of experts on your show as well. What would you do differently back then that you didn't know or didn't do?
Number one, I would be much more intentional when it comes to living. When I was living originally, all I wanted to make sure I was safe. And things escalated to such a degree that for me, escaping from the house environment, I actually had two getaway bags in the back of my car so I could leave the house whenever if needed be. And I just wanted to focus on the safety aspect. What I would have done differently right now, I was not financially prepared. There were multiple instances when the ex emptied the bank accounts and I did not have another credit card. Everything was mingled. So I was left completely penniless until he put money back. So
Now, how long did it take for that to happen though?
It's interesting. It was very psychological and emotional bullet. So he put it back within a day, like 24 hours. But he had to talk to multiple people for them to tell him that was not okay. And for him, he later admitted it was to teach me a lesson. So I know who I am messing with. So the second time when I knew he was about to do it, I was more prepared. So I had my separate account. I had separate checking account. I had credit card. Since I was running a household, so I knew everything about the financial picture. So that's a big one. I knew the financial picture. So that one I was a little more comfortable with. But what I was not prepared is, again, the emotional warfare that I had to go through and the lows of the low I felt by the attacks, because again, it's your intimate partner. They know you so well. They go under the belt. The level of cruelty they show because they're hurt is unimaginable. And you grow a little more numb over the years because you understand it's just antics and the connection is no longer there. But the beginning, if you are not prepared for what's to come, you will be spinning. And your attorney is not there to help you unspin.
Yeah. I think that was something that you and I were talking before the show started too. And I was like, okay, stop. You need to share this on the show.
Yes.
It's like, yes, we get an attorney, but what was that moment? I mean, like when you're like, oh my gosh, at what point in your case did you realize that, are you okay? Are you there?
Yeah.
All my screens just went blank.
Oh, no.
So when in your case did you realize, having an attorney was not all that you needed?
Probably, I would say after divorce was settled. But in my case, divorce was settled in less than 2 years, which was actually for high conflict. It's really great. Like the finalized, not bifurcated, everything was settled. But it's continued litigation afterwards. It's trying to renegotiate the final settlement. It's the restraining orders or temporary restraining orders. It's not payment of the child support. So there is like wage garnishment. It's all of those things when I realized how much money I was dumping into an attorney and how much bad advice I was receiving, because I went two routes. I went therapist to help me understand what I was dealing with and try to understand how not to respond, and the attorney. But there was nobody, I did not have a strategic partner. So a therapist always told me, oh, you need to notify your attorney. You need to ask the question to an attorney. I do ask questions, but it's billable hours.
Right.
And then attorney, what a lot of women don't understand, people don't understand, I didn't understand, they're not there to advocate for you. It is your job to advocate for your future. You need to stop being this passive participant. I was one of them. I trusted my attorney implicitly, and she's incredible. Like, I will give her that. It's just, I did not know what I wanted in my settlement. I just knew, okay, here's the law. But now when I'm looking back, parenting plan, I would have done differently. I probably would have done a little different negotiation strategy. I probably would have done just like overall how I approached it. I would have been much more effective and intentional with settlement versus reactive and expecting new shoe to drop. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize when going through high conflict divorce. You need to live in this anticipatory state. Shit will get bad. Are you prepared to handle it? And what is the outcome that you want. And you can't give in. A lot of times, and I was one of them, I'm like, I just want to sign it. I just want to be done. What people don't
Right.
understand that movement will cost you more later. You have to go to court because eventually you will regret that decision.
Yeah, and people don't really think about that. I honestly, I hear all the time, people are like, oh gosh, I wish I would have made a different decision. And you just, I mean, oftentimes, and sometimes when there's the abuser, right? The one that is really controlling and abusing you
Mm-hmm.
through the legal system wants to move it along as quickly as possible so that you don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like move along so that, and these people are like, they're grasping for, I'm going to lose everything. And, you know,
Yes.
and I always say, just slow down, slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at all the facts. And I love what you just said is advocate for yourself, because it is, I know for me, and I don't know if this happened to you, but my mom was like, you know, Becky, pick your big girl panties up, like pull them up and let's get to work, because
Mm-hmm.
it was so taxing and it can feel like you're being buried. And that's exactly what the other spouse is doing when they're playing
Yes.
these games. They want you to give up. They want you to surrender. They want you to not advocate for yourself. And many times that's because you haven't advocated for yourself in your marriage. So
Exactly.
now they're like, oh, well, you know, this is how she's going to respond or he's going to respond during this process. And so I like that what you said, that is like, but how do you recommend when you're working with people, how do you help them advocate for themselves?
Well, one, I always tell them be very wary of mediation, because if you were in an abusive marriage and you're going there, there is nobody who, if there is a now abusive dynamic, there is a perpetrator and there is a victim who is sitting, and that power dynamic will always play out in
Mhm.
the mediation, because the mediator is a neutral party, not representing anybody. And it's very easy to force or coerce another party into signing something just to make it stop, because you really do not want to be in the environment. So number one, be very wary of mediation. Number two, understand the laws. You don't need to be an attorney. You and I talked. I'm not an attorney. You're not an attorney. But by going through the legal system, educating ourselves, this is how we know our rights. You need to understand what the settlement will look like, what you are entitled to. In California, it's what if there is a long-term marriage, short-term marriage. So the alimony, spousal support, is based on that. Educate what you're entitled to, so you are getting an equitable and fair split. Like,
Yes.
don't be greedy. I always say, pick your battles, don't be greedy. If you're arguing over $5,000, like, I do not know, table, let it go, let it go. Like, it's not worth
Yeah.
holding on to the settlement. But know the big picture. If there is a payout somewhere later, make sure everything is outlined, how the payout happens, how you receive it, and when it comes your way, because that is much easier to enforce later, because high chances you will have to do it. But if it has to be in writing.
Yeah.
And
No.
another thing, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Another thing. Go ahead.
And another thing, just again, especially when it comes to yourself, when you know your rights, there is a sort of power, and you're finally in control of your life. That what makes you glow up. It makes you stand a little stronger. It makes you being less intimidated. It's much more difficult to intimidate you when you're no longer gaslit and manipulated. You know exactly what's happening. You see through the BS. It takes a little time to start seeing through that, but you stand taller, and that, I think, is such a huge benefit and advantage when you go in front of the judge, and instead of being emotional and rattled and like having panic attacks, you're prepared, you're calm, and
Well, and
calm always
I love,
wins.
yeah, I mean, what you do is you help people get to clarity, right? And that's part of
Yes.
clarity, is understanding your rights. I always say, if you do not know your rights, you have no rights. And it is true that when you, and it doesn't matter where you need to find out those, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to find out what your rights are, whether it's, you know, talking to an attorney or other
Hmm.
people in the space. But I love that you said that once you understand your rights, you have the confidence to be more calm and clear about what you're going
Hmm.
to stand for and what you don't. And it doesn't mean that just
Hmm.
because you know your rights, you don't have to exercise all of them if you don't want.
Nope.
but at least you know them. And
Well,
that,
I always tell people, like, imagine when you're going through high conflict divorce, it's like a tug of war, and you're both holding on to the rope. There are moments that you have to fight it out. There are moments, there are battles that you should not let go. But there are so many petty ones, whether it's to stall the legal process and continue draining accounts, whether it's to rush it, let it go and let them fall on their asses because they're not expecting. So when you're being strategic, educated, and composed, that's what the other party is not expecting. And that is when they expose themselves. So instead of, again, them portraying you as being crazy because you are emotional, the triggers are there. I mean, I don't know if they ever go away. I still get triggered when something happens. It just, self-regulation has become a big part of my life right now. But when you take a step aside, they will show themselves in full glory, and the courts will see it. It does take time, but courts see it, attorneys see it, and they're the ones who lose. Like, it's, unfortunately, it is like a war, and I hate it because I always say in divorce nobody wins. But in high conflict, if you just walk away a little less emotionally wounded and less financially strained, you won.
yeah. And I love that you said that too, is that you do have to allow the system, including the judges and the other attorneys and all that stuff, to see what's really true. And sometimes it's not yelling at the top of your lungs, because that sometimes makes you look a little crazy, but it's knowing your rights, being calm, sitting and watching it unfold. Let them hang themselves, because the court systems are not dumb, So, however, it is a dance. It's a delicate dance to, because it's, especially if you've been in a situation where you feel like you've been abused by this person, you're now finding your voice. You want to be able to say, hey, this is what happened, this would happen. But sometimes it's better to be quiet and stable and connected, and allow them to show their true colors.
One advice I want to give to people, to women: if you're in an abusive relationship and there is something marginal happens before you file for divorce, make sure you start documenting, whether it's a police report, whether you go to the doctor, because I've been there when I go and I am questioned by another attorney and saying, well, you didn't complain about it when you were married. What's the problem now? They really make you spin. As a victim, you already doubt yourself. You already have very meek voice. So when somebody else is questioning you and questioning your experiences, it is very difficult to continue advocating for themselves, because your first reaction is to go back into your shell. So when you are in it, when you recognize something, start building the case. Whether you use it or not is a different story, but start having a track record so nobody will ever question you making this stuff up later on, because before you were fine.
Yeah. So do you have a story of a client that you have that went from really doubting herself or himself? I don't know if you work with men as well, but doubting themselves, and through the process of having a coach like yourself, is now able to stand up for themselves and no longer, and seeing the truth of what's really happening in the high conflict divorce.
Yes, there was one woman. She was thinking. So she was very much at the beginning of the journey. She was concerned about the children, how children's gonna be. She wasn't sure what to do. And again, it's like, it's a playbook of women exiting relationship, or I'm gonna file for divorce tomorrow. And so we had to sit down with her and we had to map out. No, before you go to attorney, I always talk about attorneys as the last stop. It's like boots on the ground. You have to have the strategy. You have to have the plan. They implement it within the legal boundaries of the system. That's it. Like, that's how you treat attorney, but it's your job to know what you want, and the outcome you will settle for it. And so we created a plan of her exit plan. Number one, whether she's going to move out, what her financials looks like, what alimony and spousal support she's entitled to. So she kind of can mentally prepare what her everyday life will be, and also preparing the records. Having, it's, nothing is verbal agreement. Everything has to be in writing. So the original, the parenting plan, how you want the kids to be split, that all has to be in writing, and also notarize it. And so that's what we worked through. And the biggest thing, I could hear she could start breathing easier. She was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I'm like, no, we're going to come down. Today, your plan is to collect statements, let's say. Tomorrow, your plan is go and look at places and see where you want to be. The day after that, spend a day writing the agreement between yourself and the soon-to-be ex. And you take one day at a time. You don't want to look at this mountain you need to climb. You look at one each step. And I could hear how the pressure just drops. She got so much clarity. And she's like, okay, I got it. I now know what to do. And it was so empowering for me to hear her voice change from panic and being overwhelmed to becoming more grounded and present. And now knowing that it's almost like got her out of that divorce brain, lizard brain, when you can't think straight. And now she moved back to operating as a smart, intelligent, strategic woman that she is. So it was pretty cool working with her throughout the process and getting her grounded and seeing how much more comfortable she was getting with the process.
Well, and it was probably really rewarding for you too, knowing that the work that you do matters.
Yes.
Because I feel that same way too, it's discouraging sometimes to see what's going on, but then you're like, okay, calm down. It's okay. One step at a time, one day at a time. Let's breathe together. Let's get you grounded again. And literally that grounding, I know I was doing a podcast about a month ago with a gal, and we did a breathing exercise right on the podcast, and I started crying. And I was just like, I don't have a problem being vulnerable and stuff, but it was just like there was something going on in my life too that I needed that. And I think sometimes we forget. That's the reason why having coaches in our corner is so important. And no, we can't give legal advice. We can't tell you everything. That's what the attorneys are for if you work with an attorney. I love helping people that really I feel can handle it on their own, because a lot of people don't think that they can do it on their own. High conflict is a little bit different. I think I was kind of pushed into it, but having the right support around you is vitally important. And for you being in this space, what do you find is probably the most beneficial thing for your clients when they're working with you? Do they work with you for 3 months, 6 months? Are you able to talk with them if they're in a crisis mode? Things like that.
So I try to make myself more available than an attorney, because again, I've been having days when they were so dark and I felt I had nowhere to turn. I was on my own. I was not seen, understood. And I never want my clients to feel this way, because I know how easy it is to start going down that rabbit hole. So I make myself always available to clients. If something's happening, please reach out. At least I'm going to help you ground yourself, or kind of show you that it's not as catastrophic as you think. Because I remember my therapist always said, you catastrophize. Well, yes, I'm hypervigilant all the time. So I know the worst case scenario may be coming. But another thing, the most beneficial, when I work with clients, we are very strategic when it comes to the stage of divorce they're in. So if they're pre-divorce, okay, we're doing planning. If they're mid-hearing, what kind of hearing are you going through, right? Is it a preparation of the exhibits, or do we need to mentally you prepare? Because a lot of times, again, attorneys do not want to deal with that. Attorneys there to implement your legal strategy. They're not your emotional support. So going into court hearing, knowing a little bit about the judge, but being composed, knowing what to expect. And if you're dealing with minors counsel or custodial evaluation, it's a whole different ballgame. It's so, as a mom, it's so easy to lose your shit and look like complete crazy, because it's your children we're talking about.
It's a mama bear. Mama bear's coming. Don't you mess with my kids.
But that's what they're looking for. And you can lose the custody of kids just by being emotional.
100%.
You have to be very careful. So my clients, it's kind of all over the place. They reach out to me when they truly need help and get grounded. I usually say, listen, if you're going through litigation, you should sign up with me for a few months, because this litigation is going to be, the prep takes about 60 to 90 days and then the hearing. But if you're just planning, just reach out to me for an hour. Let's do a consult and we just get you where you need to be, and we just do it as needed.
Awesome. And so do you offer free consultations?
Initial ones, yes. So when you are just trying to figure out if you want to be with a coach, it's almost like we interview each other. I interview you as a client to see if you are within my wheelhouse and if I can help you. And you are interviewing me if I can be of value and what results you can see from me when you are going through divorce.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you as well. It is very valuable going through a divorce, having somebody that's already been through it and kind of been through very similar things and saying, hey, like, do this, don't do this, say this, don't say that, because I love that we come from a place where we don't want people to have to go through what we went through. It's unavoidable. However, if we can save you money, time, energy, heartache, that's definitely something that's along the way. And I love that you're in this space. And I know when I was doing your podcast last week, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl's like, yes, I love that your podcast. By the way, tell everybody where they can see your podcast.
My podcast is available on all main platforms. So it's Apple, it's Spotify, it is iHeart, it's Amazon Music. And we talk about divorce, we talk about relationships, we talk about dating. So we talk about everything and anything in between. But
okay, so tell us what the name of it is again.
Uncoupled and Unfiltered.
I love it, because I many years ago I was going to do a no BS, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, just say it, because in our society we don't need it sugar coated. We need to know exactly what the heck we're doing and what we're navigating, and sometimes it's difficult. It's hard.
You know, the most frustrating part sometimes I see with clients, and how blind we become to our own situation. Like when I work with clients and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so obvious. Like, this is what he is doing. This is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't be doing. When it comes to myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you do now? Like, it's out of the blue, we're just lost. And it's frustrating that we're human wired this way. But I think that's why having an exterior brain, I always think of coaches as exterior brain when yours is kind of shut down and can't function. But it's frustrating to see clients make mistakes that you made, and you're like, that's gonna hurt.
And they're always free to do that. I mean, I talked to you about a situation right before our show started today. I was like, nobody can advocate for you like you can advocate for yourself, even in a high conflict. However, I will tell you that advocating, having that support behind you to hold you when you want to back down and sit down and I'm done. I even have a client a couple of months ago that she called me when she goes, I'm done. I quit. I can't. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not quitting. And the very next week she had won something in court, and she's like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't give up. And I'm like, honey, there's no back door when you're working with a coach. They're not going to let you. I mean, you're still always a choice, but they're going to really highly encourage you. Do not do that, or do this, or, just what to avoid and what not to. So, so thank you for your doing, and please reach out to Ksenia. And so here's my question. Is, what does divorcing strong mean to you?
You know what? It's being in control. It's being in control of your own destiny. It's knowing your goals. It's not listening to noise. It's not doubting yourself. And it's just being confident. That's what it is. You finally are your own engine, your own power, and it's up to you to turn it on and off. So divorcing strong, your engine is on, and you just go until you get the results you want.
Yeah, no regrets. No regrets.
Never. It's interesting. I look back at my life and I now think divorce was the best decision I've made. Not even my wedding day. Like my settlement was the happiest day of my life, but it's because of there was so much turmoil. So regrets, even considering all the hardships, challenges I went through, and a lot of people go through, you went through them, would never change anything about it.
Yeah, we say that now, right? When we were going through it, it was like, oh my gosh.
It wasn't fun.
No, but I did say that to someone this morning. I said, look, every single thing happens for a purpose. You may not understand it right now, and you may not feel it right now. And I remember someone telling me the beginning of this second divorce, she's like, Becky, you're going to look back and be so grateful for what you've been through. And I'm like, what are you smoking? Like, and now I look back and go, wow, that, first of all, it taught me how strong I was. And I think in general, I don't think we believe that we're as strong as we really are. But it also taught me of this whole new person, that I was capable of advocating for myself for the first time in my life. And I came out stronger on the other end. And that's why I've started this whole thing anyway, is divorcing strong. Can we become stronger through everything that we've been through? And really a high conflict divorce and contested divorce really puts the pressure on you, and we'll see who comes out based on your decisions. So exactly. I thank you so much for taking the time to come on today. And thank you for doing your podcast and for all the work that you do. It matters. It really, really matters that we all get out there and help the people who are needing help. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to make sure that all listeners know you are never alone. And this is not something new you are going through. This is not unique. We just don't realize it when we're in it. So reach out for help and get yourself a cheerleader who will never let you fall or go back when the door is locked.
Exactly. No exit plan.
Nope.
Well, not that kind of exit plan. So not exiting on yourself, I should say.
Exactly.
So thank you so much. Hold on just one sec. Gosh, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on this episode of Divorcing Strong. I mean, high conflict divorces is never what we want people to have to experience. However, and even divorce in general is not something I would want anyone to go through. However, when you are faced with it, please know that you're not alone. Just like what Ksenia said, is that you do not have to travel this journey alone. You have people who are begging and searching to reach out and find you, so that we can help you through that process. But thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Divorcing Strong, and we will see you next week. We've got a full load of shows. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.